So now I get the absent bridegroom wedding thing. Proxy. Mine was conducted at Greyfriars Church, Greenwich, in August, Louise the following month in Paris. Again, no cake. Later that year, I left for France. My lovely mother Guildford, Joan Vaux, accompanied me as my lady-in-waiting, and I took 4 maids of honour, including one of the Boleyn sisters, the dark-haired one, Anne, plus Edward Seymour too. We had barely made progress from the coast when my dear mother Guildford was summoned back to England. I was bereft. I needed her with me. October, I was wed in a lavish ceremony at Abbeville Cathedral. There was cake this time. The following month, in Paris, I was crowned Queen of France. I had always been fortunate, been able to have whatever I wished for, but this was a whole new level. A queen can literally have anything. I did quite like that bit of being married to a great king, but not some of the other distasteful bits. I have to take my French hood off to my brother's ability to predict the future. He was right. Louis was dead within a year. 3 months, to be precise. I did feel a bit sad. You should feel sad when someone dies, shouldn't you? Especially if you're married to them. Well, I was to have plenty of time to be sad, taken into seclusions for 40 days. Apparently this is a French tradition, just in case I was with child. Oh, how I laughed. Sorry, that is a bit disrespectful, but seriously, he was so old. I would, however, keep my French hood definitely on when I consider my brother's judgment on just how persuasive I can be. He always really underestimated me. He sent none other than our bonus brother, the delish, delectable, dashing Charles Brandon, to negotiate my return to England. Something about plates and jewels, but I wasn't listening, and I didn't care for any of that. I just wanted him. Henry was well aware of the attachment that Charles and I had formed. I'd known him all my life, but something had changed in me as I became a woman. I would seek him out. I would pine for him. My heart would skip a beat whenever I saw him. I'd fallen in love. Meanwhile, back in 1514, time was of the essence. I was in a precarious situation. As Dowager Queen of France, the incoming King Francois I had every right, apparently, to make a politically advantageous marriage, dangling me as the prize. Not to mention that no doubt my dear brother's cogs would be whirring as to who he could broker a deal with next, with me on offer. I was having none of this. I know, it isn't the done thing to marry out of choice as a woman, but this woman had her own mind. Apparently, Henry had made Charles promise to be professional and do nothing in haste. But he had a choice: marry me now or never. So did he A, say no, thus avoiding an appointment with the axe, or B, say yes and whisk me down the aisle before you could say treason? That February, we wed in secret at great risk to our lives. In Paris, a small private affair, just 10 guests, including King Francois, whose blessing we had. He was our most honoured guest and witness. Charles wrote to Cardinal Wolsey, begging him to break the news gently to Henry, to plead our cause, to excuse and forgive us for marrying without his consent. But he was furious. Those present thought that his head would burst. He went purple with rage. Oops. Not ready to return to England just yet, we travelled to Calais. Not quite English soil, but sort of. I steadfastly would remain there until my brother accepted my choice. I penned him a letter, telling him I would never return to England unless he gave permission and his blessing for our marriage. His love for me was never in doubt, and I was confident that he could not ignore the brotherly bond that he and Charles shared. Of course he forgave us, and yes, he did impose a ginormous fine, but it's only money. What is £24,000 between family? And just so you understand, that equates to over 7 million to you watching this. He wanted £1,000 a year to recompense the royal coffers for my lost dowry, plus those plates again. How many plates does a girl need? And of course the jewels that my late husband had promised that I could keep, yet we were denied. Henry did reduce the fine in time, but between you and I, we never repaid in full anyway. Finally, in May 1515, at Greyfriars Church, the location for my proxy French wedding, we were formally wed with my brother's blessing, him looking on smiling. All was good in the Tudor household once more. Although now officially the Duchess of Suffolk, all referred to me as the French Queen. I quite liked that, as did my husband. He, despite an influential position within my brother's court, was not popular with the Privy Council. When news broke of our first wedding, they had urged Henry to have Charles imprisoned, at least, though they had really wanted his head, his power and influence being too rich for their liking. I suppose they did have a point. Technically, Charles had committed treason by marrying an English princess without the monarch's permission, but I knew my brother. He could never order the death of someone he loved. Henry was also not one for being told what to do. He and Charles resumed their relationship as if nothing had happened. We were once more one big, happy family.